What is happening, people? Welcome back to Gooner Down Under. Here we are for another transfer talk video. Today is all about Arsenal's midfield. At the moment, it's looking like we might go for Mikel Merino. There's some rumours around Fabian Ruiz. Personally, I'd also like a cheeky Eze, but those rumours are sort of dying down. I'm going to let that go until maybe, hopefully they start heating up a little bit. But at the moment, I don't think that's the case. So we're going to break down the two players, look who might fit into Arsenal's team better, what their pros are, what their cons are, and just have some damn good time, you know what I mean? So take it easy. If you like these sort of videos, please make sure to like and subscribe for some future content coming your way. We'll get into all the transfer talk. Maybe next we'll talk about probably strikers. It's looking like Gyökeres might come in. Hopefully that goes through. But again, that's a future video. At the moment, all we can say, I think we would have hoped the transfer window was a little bit, more of a rapid start for Arsenal. Nice and slow. Yes, it was the Copa America. Yes, it was the Euros that made transfers a bit awkward. But you want players to come in pre-season. That's where we saw Timber last season. Yes, he got injured and sort of derailed my whole point, but we saw how good he looks. He fit into the team straight away, and it's exciting. It makes you want to tune into every pre-season game that much more. You don't want to wait till the season starts and then have to embed players, figure out it doesn't work, drop a couple points, and then before you know it, you've already lost the title to City. So you want players early, you want to integrate, you want to know what that starting 11 is, and just try and build some momentum nice and early. But that's a whole nother video. Today we're just breaking down these two players. Let me know who you would prefer if you could only get one. Ideally, I would love both because we're about to get into it. I think they both complement Arsenal perfectly in different ways. And I think if we had the option of both, it would be amazing. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to only choose one and I'll let you know when we get into the stats. But before we do all that, the good thing is they're both going to come in. I think they're both going to play the same position. I can't really see them playing any position but that left 8 position. Yes, they can play DM. I think they'll be more in a 2 DM system. I don't think they can be a lone 6. And I like them coming into that 8 because I prefer Rice in the 6. I think that's where he does his best work. Yes, he was, the 8 sometimes last season with Jorginho or Partey behind. And it looked okay at times. I just don't think he does his best work there. And I think going forward, Rice is one of the best 6s in the world. Let's let him maximize his strengths. Yes, he can carry the ball, but I don't think he necessarily creates enough. Especially, the more we get into our rhythm, I think the more teams are probably going to play on the back foot against us. We're going to need more people to be dynamic, create. I don't think we create nearly enough for what we need to. So here come 2 Spanish midfielders who definitely do that in different ways. If we're going just off the Euros, I think Fabian Ruiz takes it, man. For me, he was the player of the tournament. Looked dynamic, electric, on the ball, splendid. But international competition, small sample size, of course you can't just go based off that. So we'll also look at what they did last season, per 90s because they definitely played different amount of minutes. But it makes it easy. They're both 28 exactly. I think there's a few months between them. They're both pretty much the exact same height. I think Fabian Ruiz like 2 centimeters taller or something. So it makes the comparison that much easier. Let's get straight into it. This is based off last season. So just remember, it's per 90. I think Mikel Merino played a lot more than Fabian Ruiz. Ruiz maybe didn't get favoured as much last season for PSG. You could look at that one of 2 ways. For me, PSG is always a bit of a mess. So I'm willing to give that a pass. And, they have a lot of players. They got Vitinha, who sort of took that box-to-box-ish role. So I'm not too stressed. If we can see per 90, at least we get an idea of when he did play what he did. And so far, this sort of edges to Merino. Goal-wise, it's not like any of them were necessarily ridiculous goal-scoring midfielders. Mikel Merino definitely, doing more per 90. Maybe that's because he played more, he was able to integrate more, but he is very good in the air. Like really, really good in the air. Someone who could run late into the box, sort of like what Xhaka was doing. And we're going to talk about Xhaka a lot today with Mikel Merino. Especially if we're going down that right, Ben White, Odegaard, and who am I missing? Saka, of course. Doing their little thing on the right, I think Mikel Merino making that late dart into the box could be a really good option. Can grab some goals. You see the shots as well. Doesn't even take as many, but converts more than Fabian Ruiz. Maybe you can say he got easy shots created for him. Maybe he's more clinical. To me, they're both quite similar. In this fact, you'd probably have to go to Mikel Merino. Just in terms of goal scoring, I assume he probably would pick up more, just because, like I said, he's better in the air. Fabian Ruiz is taller, but you don't necessarily expect him to get on the end of things, at least with his head. Yeah, we're going to move on. We're just going to completely avoid that. But now going on to passing. This is where Mikel Merino really takes over. For me, Fabian Ruiz takes over. What am I even saying? For me, Mikel Merino is similar to what we've had. I think he's going to come in, play a very similar role to Granit Xhaka. You know, good going forward, good defensively, maybe not elite at anything. I think that's fair to say, but just solid all around. Whereas Fabian Ruiz, you know, yes, he does a little bit of that defensive work, but on the ball, I think he's a lot closer to an Odegaard, let's say, than a Xhaka. You know, he's a lot more dynamic. You can see that there, like pretty much double the assists, the successful passes, double that. He likes to get on the ball. He likes to dictate play. And I think this is going to be a real huge asset for us. If we get a... Why can I not even choose who I'm talking about? If we're going with a Fabian Ruiz, I think he really unlocks Martinelli. If you see Fabian Ruiz for PSG constantly providing quality balls into Mbappe and behind, I think someone, you know, doing that for Martinelli can really unlock him. At the moment, Martinelli is so isolated. Don't get me wrong, even with whatever's going on around him, I think he should have done a lot more last season. A lot more. But I do feel a bit bad. You know, the left back was constantly rotating. Havertz was typically the left 8, just gunning straight for the box. He had no one to sort of link up with. It was just in no man's land all by himself. Whereas you see that other side, you see Ben White, you see Odegaard, you see Saka all linking up constantly. Saka can come in overlapping pass to Ben White. That creates something. Martinelli doesn't have that. Now with Ruiz, I think he brings that Odegaard role into there. So, you know, he has someone who can constantly link up with 1-2s, pass it in behind, pass it over the top. And then I think he'll also make Saka's life a lot easier. You know, when teams are sort of shifting, let's say we're playing through the left now, because we typically do everything through the right. Fabian Ruiz, beautiful at pinging that Paul? Man, what is going on? That ball across to Saka. And I think, honestly, I'm just going to reveal it right now because I'm just too in the moment. Fabian Ruiz would perfectly fit this midfield. You see the passing stats. The long ball accuracy is pretty close, but look how many more times he does it. Look at the chances created. He creates a lot more. For me, this is a perfect opportunity to get, I'm going to say it, 2 Odegaards, you know, 2 exciting attacking 8s with good work rates who can bring, you know, wingers into the game, can link up with Havertz. And I think especially with Calafiori starting at left back, I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. Martinelli's finally got that triangle. Finally got that triangle. You know, I think Martinelli, Ruiz, Calafiori all linking up. I think we can replicate exactly what we do on the right side on the left, and will be a lot harder to defend. It's not going to always be down one channel, so predictable. You know, teams are going to have to figure out what they want to do. If they double up one side, quickly switch over to the other, they have playmakers on that side, and we're not so predictable. Now, let me chill a little bit. Let me chill. Maybe I'm getting too amped up. Mikel Merino, definitely not the playmaker that Fabian Ruiz is, but look, he's still got good stats. You know, still very accurate with long balls, still does 2 a game. Chances created, nearly creates 1 a game. So he's still solid, you know, but that's why I link it to Xhaka. Xhaka's not going to necessarily always deliver that killer pass. He can at times, and I think Mikel Merino definitely can at times as well. He's probably going to bring a little bit more balance into that midfield. But if we're talking about dynamicism, sure, let's go with that. Ruiz, man, all the attacking outlets are going to show that Ruiz is the better option. Successful dribbles, 1.2. He does it at a much higher percentage as well. Mikel Merino, again, like Xhaka, not necessarily the most dynamic, not the most athletic, agile. He can maybe, you know, move his body into a way, get a foul, something like that. But anytime he has to dribble, it's not going to be as effective. Fabian Ruiz, always in tight spaces, always, you know, nifty little 1-2 touches. Like I said, 77 touches per 90 to 68. He likes to get on the ball. Interesting, touches in opposition box. He doesn't get anywhere near as many as Mikel Merino. But like I said, Mikel Merino typically crashes a lot more, sort of just making that last minute run. Ruiz sometimes plays that DM role as well for PSG, doesn't advance as much. So, mix and match. But look, as well, dispossessions. Ruiz doesn't lose the ball, man. Ruiz is just, it's crazy because he does so many more dribbles, such a higher percentage, and he still doesn't lose the ball. So he's always, either taking someone on, and most of the times it's working, or he plays off a little pass, goes back into space, gets back into the ball, gets back on the ball. But then, like I said, the fouls won. Merino definitely gets him. More like that Xhaka. Anytime he gets the ball, he's not necessarily going to blow past one or two people. He might do a little bit of a skill, turn his body, get the foul, we keep the ball. So both definitely have their positives, but this is probably where Merino really shines. So like I said, more Granit Xhaka, he's going to be more in those duels. He's in 11 a game, or wins 11 a game, as opposed to Ruiz's 4.9. So they're quite different. Mikel Merino, a lot more combative. Fabian Ruiz, a lot more dynamic. Definitely has the work rate though. He still wins more tackles, just doesn't necessarily get into the doors and sort of maybe scrap as much as a Merino. But you can see pretty much everything else, Merino tops him defensively. Possessions won in the final third, with recoveries a lot more. Fouls committed, he also fouls more, so sometimes that's a good, sometimes that's a bad. For me, that's typically a good thing for a midfielder because it's usually in the middle of the park, slow the other team down, take away any counter-attack that they have. And then you see the aerial duels. This is where Mikel Merino definitely dominates Fabian Ruiz. 6.08 to 0.3. Fabian Ruiz is taller, but he's not that physical player. He's not going to scrap. He works hard, he wins tackles, but he's not going to be up battling, battling. Let's leave it at battling. Sometimes we don't need to add extra words. So it sort of depends on your preference. That's why at the start of the video, I'm saying if we could get both, that's perfect. Against a tougher team that's going to necessarily try and come at us, maybe we go Mikel Merino, look solid in that midfield, don't allow them to counterattack, and then teams who maybe we're at home, who we have the advantage on, Fabian Ruiz unlocks the defense, can link up with Martinelli a little bit smoother for me. Him and Odegaard, I think, would be absolutely perfect in that midfield working together. And I just think if we had to go one, I'm edging it towards Fabrizio to Ruiz. I'm edging it towards Ruiz. Like I said, Fabrizio's saying we're moving forward with Merino. It looks like the more likely transfer. There are definitely rumors for both, and I hope we do get Ruiz. I think his stock is probably quite low at PSG. Yes, the Euros definitely elevated it, but I think, I think PSG want to get rid of him too. We can definitely make a move on that. And for me, he would perfectly balance this midfield. That way Rice could sit, do his thing at 6. We have a backup for Rice in Jorginho or Partey. I want to keep them both. Partey at times, if we can keep him fit, just play important games. We have Champions League, we have Cups. Partey, if we can just keep him fit, we don't need to play him every game. He is going to be a massive asset. For me, when he's fit, he's our best midfielder. That's how, when he's fit and in form, the way he controls the game, the way he makes it look so easy, takes the ball, turns defenders, beautiful long pass. It's just, Partey is him. Unfortunately, we see it about 4 times a season. So that's why, I want someone to come into the 8, allow Rice to stay that 6, because I don't want to trust Jorginho and Partey all season long. I don't want them to be the main 6s. I don't think there are any 6s available that would necessarily fill their role. At the start of the transfer window, I was talking about Amadou Onana. I thought he would have been perfect to come in. Aston Villa took him, so I think he's definitely going to elevate them. But for Arsenal-wise, I'd rather just now have Rice go back to the 6. Let that be. Have Ruiz, I think, start most games. Mikel Merino coming off the bench, solidifying the game if we're, taking the lead. I think that would be the perfect balance. But like I said, if we're going one, I'm going Ruiz. Let me know who you would go for. I don't really know what the scope is. I'm assuming most people would probably go for Merino because that's what's more talked about at the moment. But we'll see. Hopefully these transfers can start getting wrapped up soon. It looks like Calafiori is going to get done any day now. I just want this damn season to start, man. We need this title. We need this title. But if you've made it this long into the video, guys, thank you so much. Please make sure to like and subscribe. More important than any of that, please take care of yourselves. I'll see you in that next one. Peace.